things that are guarantees in baseball and on the diamond. But it was as close to a guarantee as could be that Cliff Lee would take the mound in Chicago after struggling in Texas and put together a dominating performance. 7 innings of shutout baseball later, the left-hander delivered the Phillies to a win. One time through the rotation, and 6 days later, his task is to solve the bats of the Brewers. Forget about turning the page. The Phillies have to start a brand new chapter. They've lost 3 consecutive games, including the first 2 here at Citizens Bank Park. And tonight they'll turn the baseball over to Cliff Lee in the finale of this 3-game series. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, joined by Jamie Moyer. It is good to have your ace on the mound. And the Phillies' ace, of course, is Cliff Lee.
And I think the Phillies are expecting a big night out of Cliff here tonight. And hopefully his defense is going to play well behind him as well, because they're really important in Cliff's success. And here, as you can see in his last start against the Cubs, he got off to a little bit of a slow start, but his defense played a key role in allowing him to get out of some jams. You see some ground balls here where Cliff made some good pitches. They played very well behind him. Jimmy makes a nice play here with Chase and turns a double play. And as Cliff settled into this game, he really made some quality pitches with his cutter. Right there, you saw a backdoor cutter. You see another one here. You see another slider, a backdoor cutter that's going to break down out of the zone for strike 3. And we come back here to Philadelphia tonight, where Cliff has made 52 starts. He's 23-16 career with a 2.81 ERA, and opponent's batting average is 241. So Cliff has to be feeling really comfortable coming here to Philadelphia tonight.
Keeping the ball down, as you mentioned, the defense needs to be better. Ryan Sandberg said, hey, we've got to help our starting pitchers out. They haven't played good defense these first 2 games.
Well, and when you're forcing your pitchers to throw extra pitches, it can create a lot of problems. And you see here where Ben made a mistake here on a fly ball, just misplayed a fly ball. You see a ground ball, really looked like it had some overspin and really took off on Jimmy Rollins. And unfortunately here last night, this was a key part of this game where the ball got by Ryan Howard for an error, and it just kind of opened the floodgates for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Phillies lead the National League in errors. They also lead the National League in unearned runs allowed. They got to play better, and maybe it begins tonight against the Milwaukee Brewers. It is the finale of this 3-game series. Marco Estrada has pretty good changeup. Will make the start for the Brewers. He'll be opposed by Cliff Lee, making his 3rd start of the season. Well, guess who's back in the Phillies lineup? He may not be 100% healthy, but Chase Utley's back in there, batting 3rd. We'll see if he can keep up the pace of what he did the first few games. Lineups and first pitch coming up next. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Citizens Bank. Introducing One Deposit Checking. Keeping things simple is helping you bank better. By Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of the Phillies. By Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. By Toyota. Toyota's #1 for everyone sales event is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. And by Independence Blue Cross, the most preferred health plan in the region. Independence Blue Cross, live fearless. Out to his position for the start of tonight's ball game. Cliff Lee beat him to the mound as Lee is all set to warm up against these Milwaukee Brewers as the Phillies try to win the final game of this three-game set. Let's take a look at the Brewers starting lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Carlos Gomez leads it off in center field. Gene Segura, the shortstop, bats second. Ryan Braun hits third, followed by Aramis Ramirez and Jonathan Lucroy. Chris Davis, the left fielder, bats sixth. And the bottom third of Mark Reynolds, Ricky Weeks, and Marco Estrada. And they'll face Cliff Lee, who lifetime has a 1-1 record against these Milwaukee Brewers. Overall this year, he's 2-0. He's allowed a lot of hits. Last time it was kind of surprising when you looked up at the box score and saw that he allowed 10 hits against the Cubs.
It was surprising, but he made a lot of good pitches. His defense played really well behind him, and he minimized his pitches to allow him to get deeper into the game, which got him through 7 innings. And tonight we'll see, again, we're not going to see anything fancy from Cliff. It's going to be the fastball, the cutter, the changeup, and I'd really like to see him implement that curveball that he really started to use a little bit more in spring training.
And he does always control the tempo, at least it seems like he does when he's on top of his game. Well, it's time now for our Nissan keys to the game. The last 24 hours, Jamie, what have we talked about? Get better defensively and just not make mistakes.
Getting back to mistake-free baseball. And how about some timely hitting? That way, Phillies have had a lot of guys on base, just haven't figured out a way to get them in.
Phillies are 4 for 17 with runners in scoring position in the first 2 games of this series against the Brewers. Ryan Sandberg gets set to watch his team face these Brewers, who, on the flip side, have 27 hits in this series and 13 extra base hits. He'll face Carlos Gomez to start things off. Gomez is 5 for 11, in this series, hitting .361 with 3 home runs and 5 runs batted in. And the first pitch of the night from Cliff Lee, and a line drive out toward right field. 1 pitch and 1 away.
That's efficiency right there.
That is efficiency. Let's check in with Murph. He's got the Geico quote of the day. Murph?
I sure do, and the quote of the day comes from Ryan Sandberg, and it's talking about the defense, which you guys just alluded to. He said, we definitely have to tighten that up. I don't know what to say about it. We work on it. We talk about it. Some of the plays are routine, and we have to make the routine plays, guys. And I think the biggest surprise about the defense, the 6 errors in the last 3 games that have led to 10 unearned runs, is that this is something that they've worked on all through spring. They've made it a priority, and you would agree, guys, I would think that during the spring we saw some pretty good defense, and so it's been a little bit of an anomaly. They realize that they've got to do a better job. I talked to a couple of guys about it today. They said, hey, that's baseball. Mistakes are going to happen. That said, it's not an excuse. They do have to tighten that up, and that's exactly what their manager was talking about in our Geico quote of the day, guys.
Well, it is, and again, whether it's the ground ball, the fly ball, getting to the balls, making the plays, I think it's really important, and it really allows your pitchers to minimize their pitches. When you're not making the plays, you're forcing your pitchers to make more pitches. They have to make more quality pitches, and it puts the pressure not only on the defense, but it also puts the pressure on the offense.
Well, there you see the spring training numbers, 18 errors in 30 games, already 9 errors in 8 games in the regular season. Off-speed pitch, 2 away here in the first. Well, Ryan Braun struck out 3 times in last night's ball game. However, he also popped this triple to left center field.
He hit that ball quite well, and one of those that Ben just couldn't catch up to.
And the reaction as he went to third base, he said, listen, I've been doing that for the last couple of years. We've been doing it. We just haven't been doing well enough to do something like that. I don't know. This road trip, they're 5-0 with a batting average of .321. And Cliff falls behind, 1 ball and no strikes. Braun has 9 RBIs in this series. The record for RBIs in a 3-game set against the Phillies is 12. Let's hope we don't get there. 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. And a line drive just over the head of Chase Utley. Marlon Berto cut it off. And it's a 2-out single. Cliff shaking its head. He realized he left that pitch up in the zone for Ryan Braun to pop it the other way. And now Aramis Ramirez. Ramirez is 3 for 10 in this series. He did not have a hit in the first game, but overall his average at .400. He has 14 hits and 35 at-bats to start the year. On the outside corner at the knees, it's 0-1.
That's a pitch right there that's really important for Cliff. It really helps his cutter. If you can establish both sides of the plate, and he's established that already, his fastball, that he can hit that outside corner. As a hitter, it's hard to protect both sides of the plate. And there's a nice curveball. So again, he's showing his repertoire, all 4 of his pitches early here in the game, and he's showing that he can throw all 4 for strikes.
Well, the fact that you said he needs to use his curveball more, they probably have talked about that too after the first 2 games.
I'm sure they have, and I'm sure Cliff would like to implement it more too, because he realizes he's going to have to use it over the duration of the season.
No balls and 2 strikes to Ramirez. In the dirt, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Again, the curveball is one of those field pitches. It's not like you can just stick it in your back pocket for 2 or 3 games and then come out in another game and say, oh, here it is, and now I'm going to make some great pitches with it.
Even though they've been throwing it since they've probably been 11 or 12 years old.
Right.
Little topper foul.
Oh, I'd say, pitchers are creatures of habit. When you get into a jam, you're going to go back to where you feel like you've had the most success, whether it's your fastball, your cutter, your changeup, whatever pitch it may be, and a location. So if you can use your other pitches and kind of expand your horizons a little bit, it gives you different avenues to attack the hitter with.
Curveball hit toward third. Ashe backs up on it. And the throw is in time to get Aramis Ramirez. So a pretty easy inning for Cliff Lee. Throws just 13 pitches to get through the first. Middle of the first, it's the Brewers nothing and the Phillies coming up. Up card. Let's take a look at it as well. It's brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Leading it off at center field, Ben Revere. Jimmy Rollins at shortstop at second. Chase Utley hits third, followed by Ryan Howard and Marlon Byrd. Dominic Brown with a 6-game hitting streak will bat sixth. And the bottom third of Ruiz, Ashe, and Cliff Lee. And they will face 30-year-old right-hander Marco Estrada, who has pitched in 1 game so far for the Brewers. He allowed 4 hits and went 5 2/3 innings. Jamie, since the 7th of August last year, he's 3-0 with a 2.10 ERA in 10 starts. So he's kind of figured some things out, it looks like. He
has, and Marco Estrada's got a mid-90s fastball that sinks. He throws a curveball, a cutter, and his changeup is probably his L pitch. But you can see here too, his career ERA versus the Phillies is a little more than average, 7.63. So I think this matchup tonight is in the Phillies' favor.
He's thrown in 4 games here at Citizens Bank Park. One of those games is a start. He's got 9 innings, and he's allowed 13 hits. So Ben Revere will lead it off. Revere has hit it 10 straight here at this ballpark and 5 straight overall. He's 4 for 9 in the series. So the third baseman Ramirez in on the grass. First pitch is in for a strike.
It's a little generous right there, I thought.
I think letter high, maybe a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, first pitch of the game, it's always a strike, right?
Well, a forces Ben Revere to swing at that pitch there that was up in the zone. The Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is John McCara of Philadelphia. Phillies hit a home run in today's ball game, and they haven't hit a home run in the last 3 games. Then John will win $400. Oh, 2 to Ben Revere. We may see that changeup here. There it is. 1 away.
Wow, Tom, I like that. Good call.
Well, I did see him wiggle his fingers.
See a good changeup. He just kind of drops out of the zone. He's got good arm speed with that changeup, and that's really what allows a changeup to be so effective when you have that same fastball arm speed and the ball just never gets there. And if you have a little movement to it, that helps as well.
Jimmy Rollins' 2 RBIs of this series is 2 for 8. And a fastball for a strike. Marco Estrada is from Silmar, California. He came to the major leagues with the Washington Nationals. Upstairs, 1 ball and 1 strike. Has a lifetime record of 16-20 during his big league career. Well, they say he does live up in the zone with his fastball a lot of times. Last year he was 7-4 for the Brewers with an earned run average of 3.87. It's kind of surprising, a guy that throws 90, 91, can get up to 95, that he does live up in the zone like that.
Yeah, and also with the sinking fastball, it's if you really rely on your sinker and elevate occasionally, it's one thing, but if you're trying to live up in the zone with your fastball and then throw a sinker, I don't know that those two work that well.
Well, you saw his the batting average against how it's dropped over the last few years. 2-2 pitch to Rollins, and Rollins fouls it away. Jimmy's a lifetime .281 hitter here at Citizens Bank Park, with 87 of his 200 home runs. Rolls over on one toward the right side, off the glove of Reynolds, picked up by Weeks, and Rollins is retired. Thought maybe once that ball glanced off Reynolds' glove that Rollins would have an easy time to beat that. But it did get to Weeks pretty quickly.
Funny hop. I think Reynolds kind of felt that way too.
Well, now 2 outs. Here's Chase Utley. Chase has been out with the flu the last couple of days. So he first felt the symptoms on Friday in Chicago. You wouldn't know it. And it just got to the point on Tuesday where they sent him home because it had blown up. He was better yesterday, available to pinch hit, but it never got to that point for Ryne Sandberg. 1 ball and no strikes to Utley, who's hitting .458. That .458 batting average is 4th best in the National League. And the 1-1 pitch. Inside, 2-1. Brewers as a staff have an ERA of 1.95. That's tops in the National League. Starters have an ERA of 2.37. So they're off to a good start in the pitching department. Ground ball toward first. Easy hop for Reynolds this time. And the Phillies are retired in order here in the bottom of the first. Nothing across. We've completed 1. On to the second we go here at Citizens Bank Park. Brewers nothing. Phillies nothing. Are on the train heading north to take on the Phillies tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, a 3-game series. Sunday is Turkey Hill Kids Opening Day, a Citizens Bank commemorative baseball and bank. To all fans 14 and under, you can order your tickets by going to Phillies.com. Marlins lost today 7-1. They've lost 4 in a row. They were struck out 19 times by Nationals pitching today. Well, I guess Steven Strasburg had things rolling pretty good. I know he had 11 strikeouts through 6. I don't know where he finished up, but I know there were 19 strikeouts overall. Jonathan Lucroy leads it off. 1 ball and 1 strike to Lucroy, who's 4 for 9 in the series so far for the Brewers. Strasburg finished with 12 strikeouts and 6 2/3.
Not too shabby.
That's pretty good. He got roughed up in his last outing for the Nationals.
Defense was probably a little bored behind him.
They were rocking back and forth. Rolling their at-bats through their head, wondering what they're going to eat after the game. Tapper foul. It's 2-2.
Interesting start so far with Cliff here. He's got him for 1 cutter. He's pitching a little backwards than how he normally pitches.
Now, after watching the first 2 games, would you think that's how you have to do it?
Well, I think he's just showing him something a little different. I'm sure he's going to utilize his cutter at some point, but you know, it's kind of hard and soft, hard and soft, hard and soft, and then I'm sure he's going to start to implement that cutter at some point. Probably after he at least goes through the lineup 1 time, or when they start, he feels like they're going to, trying to make some adjustments to him.
2-2 pitch to Lucroy. And a call, strike 3. That was a straight fastball. Second strikeout for Cliff.
That was the Invisa pitch. He never saw it because he never reacted to it.
He didn't react to it. Well, the cutter's such a good pitch for Cliff that if he could start off the game by not throwing it that often and surprise him later on.
Yeah, but you still want to create a feel for it. But with it being Cliff's probably his best pitch. I mean, his fastball's a great pitch too. You saw right there, but this is what makes him so good. He can go in any direction he wants to.
Chris Davis takes a strike. It's 0-1. Davis has 2 hits in the series. He's had a decent road trip for the Brewers. In fact, his average is .313. Part of that was that he had a 4-hit game on Saturday against the Boston Red Sox. Yeah, the 0-1 pitch to Davis on the outside corner, 0-2.
And I'm just already seeing 6 hitters. We're into the 6th hitter. They've had 1 hitter who was the leadoff hitter of the game, Carlos Gomez, swing at the first pitch. Everybody else is taken. The previous 2 days, it was the complete opposite.
Swing and a miss. And it's back-to-back strikeouts, 3 overall for Cliff Lee. And there are 2 outs.
Here's another good changeup down and away out of the zone. It makes a big difference when you're ahead in the count versus behind in the count.
We mentioned before that it was kind of odd when his line was done against the Cubs to see that he allowed 10 hits that afternoon. It just never seemed like he was in trouble after the first couple of innings, but he did have to deal with base runners throughout the outing.
But of those 10 hits, there weren't too many extra base hits. There were a lot of singles, and nothing was really hit that hard.
He didn't couple that with any walks, though, too, so that certainly helped his cause.
And that's very typical for Cliff.
1 ball and 1 strike to Mark Reynolds. 1 for 9 lifetime against Lee with 5 strikeouts. There's a curveball, and it's 1-2. Reynolds at bat last night, even with everything that happened in the last 2 innings for the Brewers, was probably the key at bat because Bastardo had him 0-2, and he is a free swinger. And he wound up working out a walk, and then he stole seconds.
Yeah, which is very uncharacteristic of him. But it's a big part of the game when you can move a runner without having to anybody put the ball in play.
Well, a changeup swung on and missed, and Lee has struck out the side. He has 4 strikeouts through the first 2. And he's mixing up his pitches quite nicely through these first 2 innings. First guy I got was Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy didn't pull the bat off his shoulder with that fastball. Then the changeup, and then finally another changeup. 1, 2, 3 go the Brewers. We'll be back at the bottom of the second. There's talk about the Phils, the Flyers, and the Sixers on Phillies Sports Talk. Presented by Comcast Business. Tomorrow at 5 on Comcast Sports. Now join the conversation on Twitter at PST on CSN. Bottom of the second, Ryan Howard, Rowan Bird, and Dominic Brown will be the scheduled hitters. Ryan is 3 for his last 24, and his average has dipped down to 212. First pitch of this at bat. In there for a strike. It's 0-1. Ryan, after his play last night, did not talk to the media following the ballgame, but he did talk today. And he said that it was an error. He said he should have had it and should have made the play. And if Reynolds was coming home, he said, I would have gotten him at home. And then he had a little fun with it. He said, kids, make sure you look the ball into your glove and don't try to throw it before you have it. Which makes sense.
Perfect sense. It's what you're taught in Little League, and it's what you're taught in big league camp. Fundamental baseball.
Up high, 2-2. Ryan Sandberg said today that he still thinks that Howard is limited physically because of the knee. Here's this play last night, a chopper toward first, a big hop, and it went off his glove, and he just didn't have a jump to get in position. But he said he should have had it. That one is off the end of the bat, a flare out toward left. Davis comes in. And there's one away. Logan Schaefer said that it was an error too. A lot of people were wondering, well, should it have been a double? Ron Renicky certainly was, but it's a big league ball game. That's a big league first baseman, and it was a big hop, and he just missed it.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting, though, that Sandberg said he feels like he's still limited because of the knee, and he needs to get lower to the ground when he fields his position to get in more of an athletic position.
I can see what Rhino was talking about. I can understand that.
Marlon Bird rips one deep to left field, and the Phillies are going to have the lead. It's a 1-0 ball game. That was a bullet by Marlon Bird, his second home run of the year. Well, he jumped on that first pitch. He got it exactly where he wanted it, or at least he knew it was going to this spot, and bam.
Oh, and you saw where Lucroy set up down and away, and the ball rides back out over the plate or into the plate. And Marlon got a barreled the bat to it and drove it out of the ballpark.
And it made a winner of John Macara of Philadelphia. He's just won $400 thanks to the McDonald's home run jackpot. Here's Dominic Brown, who's hit it 6 straight ball games. And he grounds one toward first. Another 2 outs. Marlin hit a ball hard last night to pick up an RBI that tied the game up at 4. That was a good sign. That swing right there was a good one as well. With 2 away, Carlos Ruiz is the batter. Carlos has 2 doubles in the series. Curveball up high, 1-0. He does have a good changeup.
And he's using it quite effectively. He's hard, soft, hard, soft.
Popped him up. Reynolds crosses over to foul territory. Side is retired, but the Phillies take the lead. Marlon Byrd jumps on a first pitch, and he drives it into the seats in left field. This was a long one. Second home run of the year. So it's 1-0 Phillies as we move to the 3rd here at Citizens Bank Park. Trivia question. Log on to Phillies.com, go to the fans section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. All right, Jamie, it's the G. Stuff the fans. What position did Brewers manager Ron Renneke play for the Phillies in '86 and '87? The answer will be revealed later in the game. You obviously know Ron Renneke's career a little bit, so.
I gave up my first hit to Ron Renneke, who doubled on the left field line, by the way.
Did you really?
I did.
Did you remember that, or
did
he remind you?
No. He's never reminded me of it. You don't forget your firsts. He was the first hitter I faced, doubled on the left field line.
Huh. Well, you won the game.
I did. We did.
Right. Ricky Weeks takes a strike, and it's 0-1. Ricky Weeks has played as an extra man in the series until now. Came on in game 1, did not play yesterday. Fastball for a strike. It's 0-2. You remember who you gave up your first home run to?
Probably in that game too. I gave up a few of them.
Jammed him. And Lee off the mound. Good fielder. 1 away. You gave up so many that they made a T-shirt for you.
Yeah, my wife. Loving wife gave me a T-shirt.
She's just keeping you in check is what she's doing.
Yes, she is.
She's keeping you grounded.
Select company in that group, the 500 Home Run Club.
I'm sure Robin Roberts' wife made him a shirt too. Here's Marco Estrada. Estrada is a lifetime 161 hitter. Just off the outer edge, 1-0. Pulled that one in a little bit compared to the first pitch. It is remarkable the turnaround the Brewers have had on this road trip. They were terrible offensively in the 3-game series against the Braves in Milwaukee. They hit just 184. Ryan Braun was 1 for his first, I think it was 16. But on this road trip, they're hitting .321 with just a basket of extra base hits. Between Gomez, and Mirez, and Ryan Braun, and Lucroy. Time for our Mazda leaders. Speaking of Brewers hitting, they lead the National League in batting average after 5 games on the road. Phillies are 3rd, and the Nationals, who have been home the last few days, are 2nd. Outside, 3-2.
There's 3-ball count to the pitcher.
He's pacing himself. Swing and miss. Strikeout number 5. 5 strikeouts through 2 2/3 for Cliff. And back to the top of the order. Well, it's an absolutely gorgeous day. 64 degrees right now. Winds out of the south at 13 miles per hour. There's Carlos Gomez. And he grounds that one foul.
There's that very effective cutter. Gets that ball in. Really is, if you're going to swing at that, the only thing you can do with it is pull it foul. It's when it leaks out over the plate. It's where, you know, the hitters can get to it.
Like against Texas.
Exactly.
Well, when he's on, he has the perfect sequence of pitching in and out because he has the cutter coming in to right-handed hitters and the changeup. Well, sometimes it's coming in, but he can also fade it away. And of course, that curveball, which he just threw there, that's 1-2.
And then, you know, he can locate his fastball, as we saw to LaCroix down and in. They just locked him up. He had no chance. And he gave you that reaction. LaCroix is a pretty good hitter in my book.
Last year he was tied for the RBI lead among catchers with Yadier Molina. 1-2 pitch to Gomez. In the dirt, 2-2.
Going to miss, that's where you need to miss. See the reaction, a little jackknife with Gomez there.
Out toward right field. Marlon Byrd on the run. Will it stay in the yard? And he tries a basket catch and he doesn't come up with it. Gomez is thinking about 3. Here's the throw by Utley, and it is not in time. That'll go down as a triple for Carlos Gomez. And that's his first triple of the year. Well, he was running out of the box as soon as he hit the ball.
Marlin stays with this ball and tries to basket catch again, and this time it doesn't work out for him. But give Gomez some credit here. Out of the box, he ran like that ball was in the gap, and he knew it was going to be a triple. You know, Marlin made the same catch, not quite as close to the wall in Chicago. Tonight he fell a little short with that.
Same thing in Chicago, though. I think he got to the spot faster than he thought. He was able to pick the ball up and grab it out of the air in Chicago. That time, his chest got in the way. Segura struck out his first time up. And it's no balls and 2 strikes. Competitive guy. You can see he's thinking about it. Almost came back. It was just a little off the plate. And it's 1-2. Paul Nart's behind the plate. Adrian Johnson's at first. Larry Vanover's the crew chief. And Angel Hernandez, who did a nice job behind the plate last night. I thought Paul Nart did a great job at first base last night.
A lot of close calls at first base.
Ground ball towards second. This should do it for the inning. Utley's up with it. So the triple by Gomez is followed by the ground out. So Carlos Gomez is left over at third. No runs. 1 hit and 1 man left. On to the bottom of the third. It's a 1-0 game. Go further. Buy AT&T. Rethink possible. And buy the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. Bottom of the third. It's the Phillies 1, the Brewers nothing. Marlon Byrd's home run, the difference in this game. Marlon Byrd and Cliff Lee were talking in between innings. And Marlon said basically, I overran it. And I think like in Chicago, he was surprised that he was there. Marlon's a very good outfielder. Fastball taken for a strike. It's 0-2. By the way, Jamie, Skip Clayton has informed us, the legendary Skip Clayton, that your first home run allowed was against Mike Schmidt.
Huh.
Juan Samuel hit the second home run against you at the Vet. Came on June 19th, 1986. Phillies won that game going away, but I don't think it was all your fault.
Oh, I can remember that game. It was all of my fault. I don't think I got out of the third inning, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think if we did more research, we could find that out. But yeah, it was 19-1 loss.
Yeah.
Put it aside. Put it aside.
I can remember that day after the game. Rick Sutcliffe was my locker mate beside me. He came in and said, "Hey kid, don't worry about it. This game humbles all of us."
That is true on every level. Lee fouls it away. It's 0-1. Cliff is 1 for 3 so far.
That was my first major league, or my second major league start. It was in Philadelphia in front of a lot of people from my hometown in Souderton. Quite embarrassing.
What did your dad say to you after the game?
Yeah, get him next time.
Yeah. Change up high. It's 1 ball and 1 strike.
And that's really all you can do. And you try to learn I think that's the biggest thing. I probably didn't understand that at that point as a young player, but you try to learn from things that happen in games when it's positive or when it's negative, and you try to pull something positive out of the negative game and move forward.
You can usually find something. I mean, maybe there's some games that you can't. You have to really look, but
I think if your mind is open enough, you can. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something directly correlated to the, it could be with your preparation.
One ball and 2 strikes to Cliff Lee. Fastball a little low, 2-2. Cliff has 2 career home runs. And he's out front of a changeup, and that's the 3rd strikeout for Estrada. Monday, the Phillies will take on the Atlanta Braves at the beginning of a 4-game series. 3 night games and then the day game on Thursday. Citizens Bank Red Goes Green Day. Free MLB Network reusable tote for all fans. Check out the entire opening week schedule of games, including the 3 against the Marlins and the 4 against the Braves, by going to Phillies.com. There are 2 outs, and Ben Revere, who struck out his only time up, will bat for the 2nd time. Back toward the box, and Estrada fielded that one as it went past him. So he has an easy 3rd. Phillies go down in order. 3 in the books here in Philadelphia. 1-0 Phils as Ryan Braun will lead it off against Cliff Lee when we come back. Office supply delivery. WB Mason's same-day service can't be thrown out. Call by 11:30 and your order is delivered that same afternoon. Who but WB Mason? We go to the 4th inning, and the Fanatic is entertaining the crowd somewhere around this great ballpark. Cliff Lee so far has struck out 5 through 3. He's allowed 2 hits. And he will face Ryan Braun, Aramis Ramirez, and Jonathan Lucroy. Just off the outer edge. 1 ball and 1 strike. Braun singled his only time up. He's 1 for 1. And now 5 for 10 in the series. Now the 1-1 pitch. Hit toward the hole. Base hit for Ryan Braun, so he's 2 for 2. Oh, we want to send birthday wishes out to Ichiro Kitano, Phillies manual therapist and assistant athletic trainer. Sit next to Scott Sheridan, Phillies athletic trainer.
Looks like he's about 16, doesn't it?
He does look like he's 16. He was born in Osaka, Japan, and still gets back to Osaka, Japan during the off season. He is a good guy. He's a great guy to have around. He's worked his way through the Phillies system at Batavia, at Lakewood, Clearwater. That ball's hit out toward the alley in left center field, and that's going to be in for a base hit. Revere will get to it as quick as possible, but Braun's already around third. He's heading home. Rollins' throw to the plate is going to be offline, and we're tied up at 1. An RBI double for Lucroy, another extra base hit, is the 14th of the series, or I should say the 15th of the series for the Brewers. Obviously, that's Aramis Ramirez, not Lucroy. My bad.
Pretty much the pitch was centered down in the zone, but centered, and just dropped the head to it and drove it through the gap.
Here's Lucroy. Lucroy takes a little low. It's 1-0.
This team a very aggressive first ball hitting team, especially if it's a fastball.
Change up, and it's 1-1. Opposite way, out of play, 1-2. Lucroy struck out looking his first time up. Brewers with 4 hits so far in 3+ innings, including 2 here. Carlos Ruiz goes out to the mound to talk to Cliff. You know, in his first start against the Rangers, it was the cutter that was the issue for Cliff Lee. He left it out over the plate. We take a look at his cutter location this season. 50% of his cutters have been in the lower portion of the zone. They're hitting .556 against him, and that's what Ramirez hit, that low cutter to left center field.
Yeah, you got to believe it's the one that's left on the plate that they're hitting, because the one that kind of cuts down in and off the plate is the one that you know, we don't see a lot of guys getting the barrel of the bat to. All right, here to me, here's down, and I know we're on a different angle here with the camera, but you know, let's say that's the knees right here, and you know, here's the inside part of the plate. You know, we're looking for this ball to be in this area right here, and that ball's on the plate where he's making contact, and you know, he drove it, you know, through the gap in left center field. And it's a difference in just a couple of inches, or you know, the depth of a break on the pitch.
Well, Lucroy gets Aramis Ramirez over to third, so one away for Chris Davis. Infield in, dribbler foul. And it's 0-1. Davis also struck out his first time.
You know, I'm sure that's what, with nobody out, that's what Lucroy was trying to do, try to get the ball, get this guy to third base, and give the Brewers 2 opportunities to get this guy in from third base.
I thought there was a second where I really thought Utley was going to throw to third to try to get a Ramirez. We've seen him do that before.
He looked, and you know, I mean, Chase has got a pretty good idea of the base runner's speed, and are you going to get it out? The biggest thing is you got to get it out there. You can't try to make that play and have first and third and nobody out. Again, that puts pressure more. You're going to force your pitcher to throw far more pitches.
That one leaks through the hole on the left side, and Ramirez will score. It's an RBI single for Davis, and the Brewers take the lead. It's 2-1 here in the top of the fourth.
The thing that hurts right there is the 0-2 pitch. We've seen that happen not only here tonight. It's the first time it happened tonight, but we've seen this several times in just this first week of the season, where we get worked so hard to get to 0-2, and then that pitch right there, it's got too much of the plate for me. I think in the game of baseball, when you get to 0-2, that pitch has to have a purpose. Doesn't necessarily have to be a strike. The hitter should be in a defensive position in that situation, not an offensive position.
Inside of Reynolds, 1 ball and no strikes. It's kind of like we were talking about last night with Antonio Bastardo when he got 0-2 to Reynolds.
Here, Carlos was looking for the curveball down, and I know he was trying to throw it down there, but he didn't execute it down there. And unfortunately, with the infield in, even with the infield back, the run probably still scores.
He's ahead 1 ball and 2 strikes to Mark Reynolds. He'll be followed by Ricky Weeks in this lineup for the Brewers. And pitch a little low. Boy, I was ready to ring him up. I really thought that was along the knees and was right over the plate.
I'm kind of looked at where Carlos caught it. Where Carlos caught it, it might have been down, but across the plate, it might have been at the knees. Borderline pitch, and Cliff didn't get that one.
But he gets that one, a changeup. Cut out a miss. 6 strikeouts for Cliff, and there are 2 outs here in the fourth.
It's a good pitch. Mark Reynolds has a long swing, and his swing is definitely geared for something hard. And I think there's a guy that if you can execute soft consistently to him, especially if it's moving away from him like a changeup or a sinker, you've got a good chance to have success against it.
Ricky Weeks grounded out to the pitcher his first time up. It was a little dribbler to the right of the mound. Weeks is just 1 for 12. He'll appeal whether he offered at it, and no swing, says Adrian Johnson. Ricky Weeks is one of those guys that offensively kind of fell off the face of the earth a couple of years ago.
He used to really drive the ball well through the gaps, and again was able to hit mistakes a long way as well.
Marlon Byrd is over to the spot and makes the catch. The side is retired, but the Brewers take the lead. They get a couple of runs. RBI double by Ramirez, RBI single by Davis. Jimmy Rollins will lead it off when we come back for the bottom of the fourth. Visit Dodge.com or your local dealer today. Buy McDonald's. I'm loving it. And buy the Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Visit your local Delaware Valley Honda dealer or shophonda.com. It's in the bottom level, Harry the Cage, where the food is outstanding. We were out there during the on deck series here at Citizens Bank.
Yeah, weren't you serving out there?
I was serving. Jamie, see that? See those two doors there? You've got to go out the one to the right, and you got to go in the one to the left, and you have to say, coming out, coming in, because otherwise you're going to run into somebody or knock them on their rear end if they're not ready for you.
Didn't Lucille Ball do that in one of those shows back in the day?
Back in the day, I think she did. That's where they came up with all the rules. It was fun, though. Me and Fransky were out there. Fransky met two guys from Holland, and I went over and talked to them. They'd never been to a baseball game before. They just drove by and saw the lights on at the stadium, and they decided to come to the game.
That's pretty cool. Where do you think they are right now?
I don't know. They drove.
Maybe they're season ticket holders.
Well, they could be. They liked it so much they keep on coming back. Maybe they just keep driving from city to city. If the lights are on, they're going to go to the game. They're at a high school game somewhere in Topeka, Kansas now. Rollins grounded out his first time up, and he pulls that one toward right field. That's going to drop for a hit. Aboard to lead off the fourth.
Something we haven't seen from the Phillies in a while, and they did this towards the end of spring training pretty well. Started to manufacture runs by hit after hit after hit, hitting behind runners, stealing, taking, going first to third, things like that. We haven't really seen a lot of consistency with that. We know that they can do it, just haven't, and that was really how they got their offense started towards the end of spring training.
Yeah, we haven't seen them run a whole lot, and we expected we would. But then, if you think back to it, they haven't had, at least in this series, a ton of opportunities to go.
And they've been down. It's tough to run when you're behind. You don't want to run into outs.
Well, that's true, too. Rollins takes his lead off first. Lucroy is a decent catch and throw catcher from for the Brewers the last couple of years. I would think, though, with Estrada's changeup, you might be able to, if you pick the spot, might be able to run against him.
Well, and it's that ball, it's in the dirt. You're trying to watch the trajectory of the ball out of his hand and off of your secondary lead, get that extra step.
There goes Rollins. Pitch is swung on and missed. The throw to second base on one hop. He is out at second base. Well, Lucroy didn't throw it on the fly, but the one hop went right into the base path. Well, you know better than I do, but I thought he got a pretty good jump, too.
Yeah, I thought he did. It was a very good throw. He got rid of it really quick. The shortstop catches the ball right at the bag. Okay, is what we talked about the other night, right? Catching the ball in front of the bag, and you're right, he might have been safe.
Chase takes low. It doesn't matter now that the pitch has been thrown.
But catching the ball at the bag, right at the bag is a big difference rather than catching the ball in front of the bag.
Not sure what effect the flu is going to have on Chase. Grounds that one slowly to second. It certainly hasn't slowed him up on his hustle up the first base line. And now 2 outs for Ryan Howard.
Well, give credit to Estrada. He's getting through 2 2/3 here with 42 pitches.
At the Phillies, 25 people is all you need to take advantage of special group opportunities, including discounts and fundraising opportunities and much more. No matter what size group, there are always benefits and special options. For more information, check out Phillies.com or call 215-463-5000. Starts Howard off with a breaking pitch. ball and 1 strike.
Ball had a little hair on it after that first curveball.
Yeah, it did. And he pulls that one into the shift softly on 1 hop. Another ground out, and the Phillies go down quietly after the leadoff single by Jimmy Rollins. 4 in the books, on to the 5th. Brewers lead it 2-1. Ice hockey player best exhibits strength of character, contributes to the integrity of the team, and displays outstanding skills in the game. Find out by watching the Hobie Baker Awards Friday night at 6 before the Phils game right here on the Comcast Network. Frozen Four is in town this weekend. That is college hockey's championship. The Cinderella team, I guess the UConn of the Frozen Four, although they're a much smaller school, is Union College. They're going to be part of it. Always had a very good hockey program. As Estrada takes a strike, it's 1-1.
What do you think Matt's going to? You think Matt's going to be over there?
Matt has informed me that he is going to be attending those games, because I told him that Barry Melrose would be here tomorrow if he wanted to meet him. He said, I don't know if I'm going to be here. He goes, but I am going to be at the games.
I see Matt trying to figure out a way to talk himself into refereeing a game or something, or being in the penalty box. What do you think?
It would be funny to find him down close to the ice as Estrada's down looking. That's 70 strikeouts. Carlos Gomez is due up. Murph, you got an update on Freddie Galvis?
Oh, I have an update on Freddie Galvis, and more than that, Tom. I'll start with Jonathan Pettibone, because on Saturday, Jonathan Pettibone will get the start for the Phils. It was a question. We were wondering who would get that start as the 5th starter, but wonder no more. Ruben Amaro Jr. telling reporters today that Jonathan Pettibone will be that 5th starter that they need on Saturday. He said that, Jonathan has earned that spot. He pitched well when he came up a year ago. He pitched in 18 games a year ago and really earned the chance to get back. He's healthy at this point. It's his turn to pitch, so they're going to let him pitch on Saturday. So Jonathan Pettibone here in the ballpark Saturday. You mentioned Freddie Galvis. He could return as early as tomorrow to the team. Ruben Amaro announcing that as well today. And Mike Adams as early as Monday. He's going to have one more rehab start on Saturday. Assuming that all goes well, Mike Adams could be back as early as Monday. So guys returning to that 25-man roster and returning to the ballpark, which is always good news.
All right, Murph, we appreciate that. I also want to let you know that when you began that report, there were 2 folks wearing the red goes green aprons behind you, and the crowd swelled by the time you were done with that report.
Well, maybe they had recyclables that they needed to drop off. That's probably what it was.
I was giving you more credit than the recyclables.
Nah, I would give the recycling folks the credit on that.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Carlos Gomez. Jamie, as you'll find out, Murph is a magnet for people.
I gotta believe so with that microphone in his hand.
Line drive. That's a fair ball down the left field line. It hops over the ball girl. Dominic Brown has it. Gomez on his way to second. The throw. He is out at second base. Now he's telling Ron Renneke, I was in there. Naked eye, it looked like the throw, because it skipped with such velocity, looked like the throw beat him. Now he's taking a very slow walk back to the dugout. And Ron Renneke is taking the slow trot out towards second base.
Dominic got to the ball rather quickly. He got a favorable bounce.
Yeah, he's out. You know why he's out? Because that foot got in the way of Carlos Gomez getting to the bag. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Ron Renneke listened to Larry Vanover and then peeked to Jerry Narron. And I think everybody's in agreement that that was the right call on the field. Sometimes, you make that throw fully in the air, because that one's grounded to shortstop. It's good. But sometimes if you skip it, it speeds up a little bit once it hits the dirt. Rollins takes care of Segura. Dominic Brown takes care of Gomez and really helps Phils through the inning. Jeep. Stump the fans. Trivia question answer. All right, Jamie, what position did Brewers manager Ron Renneke play for the Phillies in '86 and '87?
I'm going to say outfield.
Thought you were going to meander a little bit there. That is the correct answer.
Kind of a guess, but
find out if you're the winner for Phillies prize pack. And thanks for playing Dodge Stump the Fans. Green means go. Ron Renneke is, people may have forgotten, wore that Phillies uniform in those 2 years. He had a brother too that played in the big leagues.
Mm-hmm. Gary. Was it
Gary? Yeah, Gary Renneke.
And I played with his son in Colorado.
Josh Renneke.
Yep.
Josh is Gary's son, right? It's not Ron's son, is it? Is it Ron's son?
No, I think it's Ron's son.
Ron's son? Played against the dad and played with the son. Marlon Byrd. He went around. It's 0-2. Marlon homered. That's the only run for the Phillies tonight against Marco Estrada, who's done a good job pitching backwards.
He has. And really starting to utilize his curveball as well.
And for that home run by Marlon Byrd, and each one hit by a Phil's player this season, one tree will be planted by the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society as part of Home Runs for Trees, a partnership between the Phillies, PHS, and Aramark. Home Runs for Trees is part of Plant 1 Million, a project to restore the region's tree coverage. For more info, visit Phillies.com/red goes green.
Got a trivia question for you, Tom.
Oh, okay. Good.
How many father-son combinations do you think I played with or against in my career?
That is a great question. Swing and a miss. Bird is down on strikes. 4 strikeouts for Estrada. All right, so the Griffeys, obviously. The Gwynns. Now, if I keep going one father son after another, we might be here for a while. I'm going to say 12.
Ooh, I don't think it's quite that high. I don't know exactly.
Do you know the answer?
we got all night, and we got actually all season. But I want to say it's like 7 or 8, maybe 9.
8. There's a strike, and it's 0-1. All right, so the Gwynns, obviously, right? The Griffeys.
Right. Yep.
The Boones.
Yep.
You didn't play with the grandfather Boone, right? Just
no.
Okay.
No.
Well, Dominic fouls it back. It's 0-2. You're too young for the Alous, aren't you? I mean, Moises,
yes.
Obviously, but you didn't. Okay. What are we at? 3? 3 and only 3. Do you know any more off the top of your head?
Bell.
Oh, Bell, right.
Buddy and David.
Yep, Buddy and David. So that's 4. Obviously, Renicky, we talked about him already.
5.
That's 5. Dominic chops it back toward the middle. Segura throws him out. And there are 2 outs here in the 5th inning. How about Sarge and Little Sarge?
Yep, 6.
All right, 6. There's got to be a couple obvious ones that we're missing.
I'm drawing a blank now, too.
Here's Carlos Ruiz. Jamie, when you ask the question,
yeah, I know. I'm supposed to have the answer. Well, I'm trying to do TV, too, and watch a game, so I'm not that good yet. I thought they'd come to me a little quicker than they are, though.
Well, that's just a sign of age. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
All right, so we're at 6. One and 2 to Carlos. Somebody's going to start sending them into us.
I'm sure.
In some way, shape, or form. Carlos lines it to right. Ryan Braun will play it on 1 hop. And it's a 2-out single for Ruiz. It's his 3rd hit of the series. And it brings Cody Ashley to the plate.
I could say brothers Ripken, Billy and Cal.
Right. If we go brothers, it'll add another category to it. There's the Maddoxes, obviously.
Yep.
Oh, I got Ray Tipton, our director, just gave up a good one.
Aaron Boone and Brett Boone and Bob Boone.
How about the fielders?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Cecil and Prince. That's 7.
Yep.
Cody Ashley stands in. Out in front of a changeup, and it's no balls and 1 strike. Carl, are you researching it?
I got
right
one.
now?
I got one. About the Hairstons. Jerry.
Oh, yeah.
And
Jerry and Scott, but Dad Jerry, too.
Yeah, senior.
Yeah. So we're at 8. It's amazing that we're 8, and we're
I think it was 8.
I think it was 8.
We might be.
We might have run the
at
gamut.
the end. Yeah.
1 ball and 1 strike. Ground ball foul. It's 1 and 2. How about John Mayberry? Did you play against his dad? That's a good guess, though.
Yeah, what I played with. Yeah, I played with John. Never played against him, but I'm trying to think.
We're going to include that.
We're going to include that. I don't know if I've ever played against his father. He was a coach.
That doesn't count.
But I don't recall playing against him.
Runner goes. Ground ball softly hit. Side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. We have played 5. We've gotten 8 father-son combinations. We go to the 6th in search of some more. Philly of the week is just getting started on his 12th career season with the Phils. Out of spring training and into the fire, Chase has come out pounding the ball to start the 2014 campaign. In just the first week, his 2 home runs, a .458 average, 11 hits, and 5 for extra bases, including his 300th career double, is the exact production Ryne Sandberg is looking for from Utley's location in the lineup. The chase for success has started early, and it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Well, it is good to see Chase Utley back in the lineup here tonight in the 3-hole for the Phillies, although the Phillies have managed just 1 run on 3 base hits against Marco Estrada. So Cliff Lee goes back to work. Against Ryan Braun is 2 for 2. 2 singles and a run scored. First pitch is low. All right, we've added another father-son. A fan has tweeted into you that you played against Tom Gordon, although you never faced him. Well, you might have faced him. And D. Gordon.
Yes.
So that's 9.
And there's some out there, the Bonds family I didn't play against.
I was going to say Bobby Bonds. You don't
play against Bobby.
Right? We found out that you didn't play against John Mayberry Sr. He finished in '82.
Right.
I keep thinking we're missing one, though. I think there's one that's obvious.
The Roses, I didn't play against Junior.
Right. 1-1 pitch. Low. Ball 2. It's 2-1.
Somebody threw out the name Gordon, but I don't know who that Gordon would be.
Tom and D.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Hello.
No,
Alomars and the Alomar brothers I played against.
Right, but Sandy Sr. was a little older. Just a tad older.
Yeah.
Those are some close pitches. It's now 3-1 to Ryan Braun.
Oh, we forgot one. Barfield.
Oh, yeah, for Jesse Barfield.
Yeah.
Okay. And his son, I remember, was Josh Barfield.
Yeah.
So that's 10. 3-2. That's a lot of father-son combinations. I said 12, so we need 2 more.
Well, I think it's even cooler that the fathers and sons played in the major leagues.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's got more.
Yeah.
Ruiz hangs on, and I think Nart's saying that the ball hit the ground. So it remains 3 balls and 2 strikes.
How about the Youngs?
Eric and Eric. And that is the right call. Did hit the ground. EY Jr. and EY Sr.
Oh, there's another one. Tony and Eduardo Perez.
Tony and Eduardo, yeah. So that's 12. Slowly hit left side. Ashe cuts it off, throws on the run, and it's in time. That's a fine play by Cody Ashe, who said today that his hamstring was feeling a whole lot better.
Cody covers a lot of ground here and really has to go down to get the ball and makes a nice throw. Actually turned it into somewhat of an easy play, even though it's a difficult play.
Third baseman has to be able to cut off as many of those as he can, because if that ball had trickled by him, I don't think Jimmy Rollins, well, he wouldn't have gotten Ryan Braun. Aramis Ramirez doubled home a run, the first run for the Brewers to tie it up at 1. He's 1 for 2. Outside.
How about the McRaes? Hal.
Did you play against Hal?
Wow.
You played against Brian.
Yes.
We'd have to check and see when Hal finished up.
Did not. I played with Terry Francona, but never played against his father.
Dad's a little older than you are, isn't he?
Yeah. The Draybacks. I don't know if that really counts because Kyle never made it to the big leagues when he was here with the Phillies. In spring training.
But he did make it with the Blue Jays.
I wasn't in that league then.
Right. Yeah, so we're talking not that they were in the league that that you face them. Here's the 2-1 pitch to Ramirez. 2-2. What do we say? We're at 12?
Yep. And there's a lot of brothers. The Uptons, the Giles.
And a call. Strike 3. Ramirez is rung up by the home plate umpire Paul Nart. 8 strikeouts for Lee. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 12 years. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit Phillies.com for details.
Didn't play against Burrows or the Bannisters.
You didn't play against Jeff, or you played against Sean?
Yes.
But not Jeff. A liner toward the alley in right center field, and that's going to go past Revere and go to the wall. Boy, Lucroy is just an extra base machine. That's 6 doubles. And it's his 5th hit of this series. So he's at second.
Noticing a lot of the balls that he's hitting in this series are fastballs. Like I said, I think this is a dead red fastball hitting team, and when they get him, they don't miss him. The Molina brothers, Benji and Yadier. So we've now
we got to go
kind of gone off another question.
We should save that for another night.
The LaRoche brothers.
And Dave LaRoche obviously was pitching, but I think he was out of the league when you started.
Oh, I think I have another one. The Cruz family. Jose and
Jose Jr.
Jose Jr.
You definitely faced Jose Sr. and you definitely faced those. All right, so we're at 13. Who needs Elias Sports Bureau? We'll get it done before the end of the night. A 1 pitch. Swing and a miss. It's 0-2. He's overpowered him with back-to-back fastballs. Chris Davis's dad played in the farm system. Well, you never faced this guy right here.
How about Ron Davis and Ike Davis? I just thought of that one right now. I played with Ron Davis.
All right, we're up to 14. We're like an auction. Can we get to 20?
Yeah, they missed the bell, though. They didn't get that one.
They're busy back in the truck cavity.
There we go.
No balls and 2 strikes to Davis.
How about the Pena family?
Uh-oh, that one's out toward right center field. That's going to be in for another extra base hit. Lucroy is going to score, and Davis will get to second. It's another extra base hit, an RBI double. It's now 3-1, Brewers on top. Oh, another 2-strike pitch. It was 0-2.
Here you see another fastball out over the plate. All of a sudden, it looks like they're not trying to pull the ball. They're just trying to hit the ball where it's pitched. And they're getting a fastball, and that was, again, elevated. Both Lucroy and Davis hit the ball exactly where it's pitched, up and away, and just took it the other way. You have to give them credit for making adjustments.
Mark Reynolds is 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. Curveball, that's low, 1-0. Tip.
I think you can throw another one in there, the Van Slikes.
You faced Scott Van Slyke?
I think I did as a pinch hitter. And then we'll go one more with the Spires.
One was a pitcher, and of course Chris Spire,
Justin and Chris.
Yep. All right, so 16. Swing and a miss, 2-2. Toyota Major League scoreboard. The Braves are on top of the Mets 4-3. Justin Upton has 2 home runs. They had 3 RBIs. Two balls and 2 strikes. Runner at second. Ground ball towards short. Good hop for Rollins, and he throws out Reynolds. The Brewers tack on another run on an RBI double by Chris Davis. So we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Phils have some ground to make up, trailing it 3-1. Toyota's #1 for everyone sales event is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. 5 Thomas Jefferson University Hospitals. Call 1-800-JEF-NOW for an appointment. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. A little surprising that Cliff Lee is done. He has allowed 8 hits and 3 runs over 6. But he's done because Cesar Hernandez is coming up as a pinch hitter. Cliff is at 96 pitches, and let's face it, the Phillies have managed only 3 hits and 1 run. So Jeff Manship is up and throwing in the bullpen. 8 strikeouts, no walks, 8 hits, and 3 earned runs. Change up, 0-2. Well, Hernandez sees 3 pitches, and he's rung up, down on strikes. That's 5 strikeouts for Marco Estrada. You could turn this easily to a frustrating night for Cliff Lee. Great stuff early on. Some extra base hits and 8 hits overall. And his offense is staggeringly slow.
Yep.
He might have been able to squeak another inning out of him. But I think it's what we were saying, that they needed to try to find some offense.
Exactly. They just need to bunch some hits together and put some pressure on the defense and take advantage of some mistakes. And right now they haven't forced any mistakes because they really haven't had a whole lot of guys on base. And every time they look up, they're behind in the game.
Ben Revere is 0 for 2. He has struck out and grounded out. By the way, thanks to everybody who offered suggestions on the father-son combinations. And I'm sure we'll get a specific number. We're at 16 right now. And we'll try to get an exact number at some point tonight or tomorrow. It's amazing. 16 father-son combinations. 1 ball and 1 strike to Revere.
Marco Estrada deserves some credit too, the way he's pitching tonight. He's moved the ball around, he's changed speeds, he's added his curveball as the game's going on. He's really kept the Phillies off balance.
Now another breaking pitch, and now 6 strikeouts, 2 in a row here in the 6th. Tuesday, April 29th, the Phillies and the Mets will get together for a 2-game series. It's a Hatfield Dollar Dog Night here at Citizens Bank Park. Mets are also here on Wednesday the 30th. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. With 2 outs, Jimmy Rollins, the hitter. He's 1 for 2. 0-1 as he takes a fastball. Where is the Phillies offense gone? It is true. You got to give credit to Estrada. He's really kept them off balance. The ice cream still tastes good for that young lady. Side ball 4, 2-out walk. And here comes Chase Utley. Chase is 0 for 2. He's grounded out twice. Rollins, the last time he was on base, he got caught stealing. And then Chase grounded out to second. It was a close play. We saw the replay. It looked like Chase was, or excuse me, Rollins was safe. Whether it would have changed the complexion of that inning or not, who knows, because there was a ground out by Chase and then a ground out by Howard. Lucroy threw Rollins out on 1 hop. Change up, and it's 0-1. So hard, I think, for a hitter to just stay back on a changeup where the arm speed is so good. At least that's the way Estrada looks here tonight.
Yeah, and the hitters get anxious, and it is hard to stay back. And when they're seeing fastball arm speed and the ball looks like a fastball coming to the plate, that's how they're going to react. They're going to react to what their eyes are telling them.
Now, as a pitcher who changed speeds, would it surprise you if a hitter didn't move up a little bit? Does that matter in your eyes?
Not many hitters do that. And I think once they start, especially if they're not used to doing it or they never do it, all of a sudden they're getting out of their element. They don't know how to respond to that situation. I think a lot of times Matt would say, I'd move back, make you force you to throw the ball over the plate, deeper over the plate. But I would have on occasion, I've had somebody come up, that was really struggling chasing the low pitch. I mean, more of a Ben Revere type of a hitter, that's a slap hitter that wants to put the ball in play, and they would try to get closer to me, and then my plan was, all right, if he's going to move up, then I'm going to make it shorter. If I can continue to get him to chase that ball, it really doesn't matter where he goes. But if he lays off of it and makes me elevate the ball, then it's a different story.
There goes Rollins. Pitch is pulled through the hole on the right side. Rollins will go on to third. And Rollins will stop at third. Runners on first and third with 2 men down, and another chance for Ryan Howard to inch the Phils closer here in the 6th inning.
Well, here's what we talked about earlier in the game, is trying to make something happen. with Jimmy's speed and Chase's ability at the plate to put the ball in play and hit the ball on the ground and hit it hard, the Phillies find themselves in a good situation, unfortunately with 2 outs, but a base hit here changes the complexion of the game a little bit, puts them one step closer, and hopefully a base hit here gets Marlon Byrd to the plate.
Well, Ryan Howard has seen Marco Estrada twice. He's flied out to left and he's grounded out softly into the shifts.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to give him a whole lot. He's probably going to throw him some breaking balls, throw some changeups. I don't think he's going to try to sneak a fastball. Like right there is a curveball. He's going to make him hit his pitch.
Little dribbler foul, and it's 1-1. Ryan got off to a good start. You mentioned before how he struggled somewhat, though, over his last handful of games. Overall, his average is an even 200. 1 ball and 1 strike to Ryan. It's up to Howard now to pick out a pitch that's in the zone.
Yeah, the first pitch is probably the only pitch that was a strike, was a curveball, was a called strike, and the changeup was probably a ball. Obviously, the last pitch was a ball, but ideally, he doesn't want to throw a strike. He wants to get Ryan to chase something because Ryan's in a defensive situation right here. I'm sorry, the first pitch he did call a ball. I thought he called that a strike.
Yeah, then he hit that little dribbler foul off the third base line.
Yep. My bad.
And that was probably the one pitch that may have been called a strike, that little dribbler foul. Now it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Runners on first and third here in the bottom of the 6th. There goes Utley, and he stopped, and the pitch is low. Ball 3. Now Utley will be off and running definitively.
And everything this at bat's been away, and except for one pitch, it's been soft. And Ryan's shown some good discipline here and getting this count to 3 balls. Now trying to put the barrel of the bat on the ball and hit it somewhere where they're not.
Utley takes off. Low, ball 4. The bases are loaded.
That was a nice at bat by Ryan.
And he leaves it for Marlon Byrd. Well, now a base hit should tie the game. Rick Kranitz heads out to the mound to talk to Marco Estrada. Marlon Byrd has provided the only run for the Phils. It was a 2nd inning home run.
You see a fastball that just kind of leaks back over the plate. And Marlon, you think about over the last week how many fastballs Marlon has seen. He's seen a lot of them. I know in Chicago he fouled a lot of those off. And even here earlier in the series, he's fouled a lot of them off. But right there, he was able to make an adjustment, get the barrel of the bat to the ball. He scalded that ball.
He did.
Fairly deep to left field in the bleachers.
Thought maybe this was a chance for Kranitz to get somebody up and throwing in the bullpen. But they're content to allow Estrada to keep on going without any backup. Phillies have Diekman and Manship throwing in their pen. Bases loaded. And a ground ball toward third. Ramirez backs up on it. Long throw on one hop. Not in time. Rowland scores. It's a 3-2 ball game. Too long a throw, too quick a runner. Second RBI for Byrd. Phillies are one more run away from taking Cliff Lee off the hook here.
Here's a curveball. Marlins pulls it down the line. Third Mason makes a nice catch. It's a long throw. He did have to come off the bag quite far. Chase was very paying attention there as that ball, the first baseman was catching that ball. Chase was around the bag, I want to say 10 feet down the line, just in case that ball got by the first baseman or he bobbled it.
Dominic Brown has grounded out twice, once to first, once to short. With the bases loaded still here in the bottom of the 6th. And the 1-0 pitch out in front of a changeup, 1-1.
You never know what can happen when you put the ball in play.
Absolutely. They laid off the similar pitch that he swung at. Now it's 2-1.
Again, he's thrown out of his last 3 hitters. He's thrown 1 fastball.
Zach Duke is now throwing.
10 pitches, he's thrown 1 fastball. There you go. There's another one. And with all the off-speed stuff, that fastball looks a little bit quicker.
Now the 2-2 pitch. Fouled it. Just barely stayed alive. Talking about self-defense. That was ball 3, but bearing down inside. Again, the 2-2 pitch to Dominic Brown. Off the end of the bat towards center field. Gomez started back. Now he comes in. And the Phillies leave him loaded here in the 6th inning. They do get a run on Marlon Byrd's RBI infield signal. On to the 7th, 3-2 game. Time to now take a look at our Honda game summary. The Phillies have managed 5 hits so far. They trail at 3-2. Chris Davis has driven in 2 for the Brewers. Marlon Byrd has driven in 2 for the Phillies. Cliff Lee went 6. He allowed 8 hits. Struck out 8. Marco Estrada has also gone 6. And now Jeff Manship will take over for the Phillies as we go to the top of the 7th inning. This is game number 4 for Manship. 3 strikeouts in 3 1/3. Ricky Weeks will lead it off. He's 0 for 2. He's grounded out. He's also fly to right. Logan Schaefer's out in the on-deck circle. The first pitch to Weeks. He went around. It's 0-1. We probably don't know everything about Jeff Manship, and we won't know for a while. But what we've seen so far, spring training and here in the regular season, he's been pretty good.
He's been very good. He's a strike thrower. He looks like he has command of 4 pitches. So I think what's happened in the last several months, the last year or so, I think he's starting to turn the corner here. You're starting to see a young kid start to mature right in front of your eyes and develop into a major league pitcher.
Everybody that I've talked to that saw him in college felt like he could be a good major league pitcher. Mentioned that he went to Notre Dame. He's born in San Antonio, lives in Austin. Now 29 years old. He was part of the staff at Notre Dame that included Jeff Samardzija. There's the 1-2 to Ricky Weeks. That one's pulled toward the hole, a base hit. So Weeks is aboard. It was a pitch he left up. And that'll bring Logan Schaefer to the plate as a pinch hitter. Let's check in with Murph. He's here with the Major League Notebook. Murph?
All right, thanks, Tom. Brought to you by Gwynedd Mercy University and the Chicago White Sox, where they got the worst case news today on their outfielder, Avisail Garcia. His ailing shoulder is the result of a torn labrum. He injured that diving for a fly ball on Wednesday. He is going to need season-ending surgery.
Wow.
He was batting .267. He had 2 home runs and 4 RBIs and 7 runs scored already this season. And the A's, well, they are deciding to go without a closer right now. In fact, they're going closer by committee. That after picking up Jim Johnson in the offseason, a guy who had 101 saves over the last 2 years, but he started the season 0-2 with the blown save. He's been in 5 games. He's allowed 2 runs in 3 of those appearances. So they've decided they're going to go closer by committee right now until Jim Johnson can figure it out early in the season, just 11 games in. So interesting actions out there in Oakland.
Absolutely, Murph. They thought that they brought him in to solidify that closer spot. Murph, I don't want to scare you or anything like that, but there's a gentleman with his hood up, and he looks kind of spooky walking behind you while you're up there. I want you to be careful.
I have security up here.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I don't go anywhere without it.
Where are you, actually?
I'm up just outside the Hall of Fame Club, section 213.
Oh, okay.
Not a bad seat in this place, Tom.
I see it. I can see your pants. Schaefer shows bunt, misses, and it's 0-1. You're not wearing black tonight.
I'm not.
You're not going with the Johnny Cash look today.
No Johnny Cash. I went with gray today.
There he is.
Hey, Murph.
Hey, Jamie.
Did you take a look at the guy behind you? Take a look real quick.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean.
Oh, he smiled, so it's okay.
It's a little chilly up here, Tom, so they're bundled up.
Here's the 0-1 pitch coming to Schaefer. Have to wait as he throws over to first. One-run lead. You would think Schaefer's still going to be up there to bunt, wouldn't you? Just tried it the one time.
You would think.
And he does, and he bunts it up the first base line. And Rollins, did he hang on the bag? Nope, he didn't. Larry Vanover makes the call, and that'll be an E2 charge to Carlos Ruiz. So give a sacrifice to Logan Schaefer. Larry Boa checking to see if they should review that and ask for a replay. Can't tell if his foot is. I think his foot might be on the bag there. Right, though. This is a good shot right here. This will tell us. And he's off the bag. It's hard to tell. It looks like he's off the bag, though. Larry Vanover got one look, real speed. We slowed it down, and Larry Boa has decided. After they took a look at it, that it isn't worth reviewing. And now Carlos Gomez with runners on first and second. But they've scored a sacrifice fielder's choice. So no error charged to Carlos. I just assumed it would be an error because I think a good throw would have had him. Gomez is 2 for 3. Little low, and it's now 2-0 to Carlos Gomez. Last night's ball game was tied at 4 going into the 8th inning. You know, the Brewers put up 5 runs in their last 2 at bats. And that's a line drive base hit into left field. Weeks will score. Schaefer's on his way to third. The throw goes to second. Smart play by Dominic Brown. A run scores, and it's now 4-2. Carlos Gomez is 3 for 4. And he has 8 hits in 15 at-bats during this series. 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this lineup have absolutely torn the Phillies up. I mean, Segura's hitless in this game. He's 0 for 3, but he's 4 for 10. Gomez is 8 for 15. Ryan Braun is 6 for 12. And Aramis Ramirez is 4 for 13. Manship is done. And Jake Diekman is warming up in the bullpen, so he's going to come on with nobody out here in the 7th inning here at Citizens Bank Park. Phillies have some dollar dog nights coming up here at Citizens Bank Park. The first one is this Monday against the Atlanta Braves. That's a 7:05 start. The next one is Tuesday the 29th, also a 7:05 start, and that's against the New York Mets. You can check out Phillies.com for all the upcoming dollar dog nights here at Citizens Bank Park. And you can purchase tickets for each of the upcoming games. Well, still 2 on and nobody out. It's 4-2 Brewers. They've reached 10 hits again, and Jake Diekman is on to try to get Gene Segura. And then Ryan Braun and Aramis Ramirez, some heavy lifting here in the top of the 7th. Phillies will have to play the infield in. They don't want to fall behind by more than the 2. Boy, their offense has been struggling. They had a toss over to first. Brewers have run all over the place in this series, so they're trying to keep them close over at first. It's safe to say Milwaukee's been aggressive in every facet of the game in this series.
Well, having all the extra base hits, having a lead allows you to do that.
There's a flare to center. Revere's coming in. He'll play it on a hop. Gomez on his way to third as a run scores. It's now 5-2 in favor of the Brewers. 4 straight hitters have reached base. They've scored 2 runs. And all you have to do is hear the boos, and Ryan Braun is coming up. Ryan Braun singled in the first, he singled in the fourth, and he grounded out to third.
Just seems like everything that the Brewers have done this inning or this series has been right. You know, they've got a lot of momentum going. They came into Philadelphia with a lot of momentum, and they've just kept moving in a positive direction.
There are times that this happens during a season. I think it's odd that it's happening this early in the year. There are times that it happens during the season.
And I think there's always a team that it's at least a team that it's happening to.
Fly ball to right. It's going to be deep enough to score. Gomez from third. Marlon Byrd is going to get the throw into second. It's a sacrifice fly for Braun. So he now has 10 RBIs in this series. And it's 6-2 Milwaukee. Yeah, and that's not to apologize for the poor play the Phillies have had on the field in this series, because they haven't played very clean baseball. Now Aramis Ramirez, who is 1 for 3. Close the line on Manship. He allows 3 runs. Oh, 2. You know, I gave the numbers for the first 4 hitters. Honestly, you can go throughout the lineup. You could stop at the 8 hole if you want to, but from Reynolds, or who is 0 for 3 tonight, he's 3 for 12 in the series. Chris Davis has 4 hits and 12 at bats in the series. Jonathan Lucroy is 5 for 12, and he has a ton of extra base hits. Swing and a miss, and there are 2 outs.
And it all adds up to a lot of runs.
A lot of runs.
And a lot of base runners.
These lucky fans are tonight's Citizens 7. They will each receive a prize pack courtesy of Citizens Bank. Citizens Bank with the most 7-day branches in the Philadelphia area. To find a branch near you, visit citizensbank.com. Lucroy is 1 for 3 with a double tonight. Outside, 1 ball and no strikes. There he goes, and they might have him picked. And Segura gets caught on the grass. And the side is retired. 3-run score, though, for the Brewers in the inning on 3 base hits. Time to stretch with the Phillies down 6-2. Seventh inning, Brewers lead it 6-2. And the Brewers go to their bullpen. Tyler Thornburg in his fifth ball game, 2-0 with a 1.50 earned run average. And he will face Carlos Ruiz, Cody Ashley, and the pitcher's spot for the Phils. Bob McClure chatting with Jake Diekman. Diekman allowed one inherited run to score. Carlos is 1 for 2. Phillies with 2 runs on 5 hits. The Brewers with 6 runs on 11 hits. Carlos takes high. It's 1-0. Up again. It's 2-0.
We saw Thornburg last night. He threw the ball quite well with a really good curveball.
The Brewers bullpen has been even better than their starting rotation. The bullpen is a 1.09 ERA. Now it's it's early. They're only 9 games in. They kind of blew that one right by Ruiz. It's 2-2. Toward the second deck. Well, this game is not over by any stretch of the imagination, but you mentioned the Phillies offense has really struggled during this series. They came in 4 for 17 with runners in scoring position. And a called strike 3. They haven't had a lot of runners in scoring position here tonight. Well, it's time now for tonight's Cold Hard Fact, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. All right, Jamie, on this date in 1971, the Phillies defeated the Montreal Expos by a score of 4-1 in the first game at Veterans Stadium. Jim Bunning was the winning pitcher, and Larry Bowa had the first hit. Now, I saw Bowa today, and I said, Bo, anniversary today. And he looked at me and goes, the opening of the vet. I mean, he knows everything. Mm-hmm. He does. And I said, yep, what do you remember? Bill Stoneman, I got the first hit.
That's awesome.
Takes a strike. It's 0-1. I said, was there anything that surprised you or was so different that it startled you when you got to the field for the first time? He said that carpet. He said it was fast. He said I usually played shallow at Connie Mack or at other natural surface fields. Ashley is struck out, so 2 outs here in the 7th. He said, but my first time taking ground balls there, I realized I have to play back, and the ball obviously.
Well, think about it. Probably playing his whole life on natural grass, and then now going to the vet, brand new carpet, and it was quite new back then. And all of a sudden, that ball stays down, and it just really skips across the carpet. I love the memories he has, though. That's pretty awesome.
He remembers everything.
Played a lot of baseball in his life.
Yeah, he remembers everything. He's always 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone when it comes to the game. I said, what were the clubhouses like at the vet? I know what they looked like, but what were they like when you going from Connie Mack to the vet? He goes, oh, because it's not like this here at Citizens Bank Park, which they're beautiful downstairs, but he said it was so different. 1-0 pitch. Swing and a miss, 1-1. I think for him, for Bowa, there was something too, opening the vet as a player and opening this place as a manager. There was, there's certain things that guys always remember and, feel good about it. I think that is, and even closing the vet, opening it and closing it.
That's got to be interesting.
When fights it off, Ramirez, foul territory, makes the catch. Side is retired in order. Phillies go down quietly in their half of the 7th. We go to the 8th inning here at Citizens Bank Park. Thornburg again in total control here tonight. The Brewers lead at 6-2. Chevrolet. Visit your local dealer at ChevyDealer.com. Buy WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. And buy Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop at ChooseNissan.com. Justin DeFreitas is coming out of the bullpen for the Phillies as we go to the top of the 8th inning. Third ball game for DeFreitas. And Jonathan Lucroy will be the leadoff batter. First pitch is over for a strike. It's 0-1. Well, I don't know if the Brewers can sustain this. You know, they were a playoff team a couple of years ago. They lead the division right now over the Pirates, the Cardinals. The Reds are in last place, although it's only 9 games and they're in last place. Swing and a miss. It's 0-2. But if they somehow are able to get this kind of offense or some semblance of it, they may linger in this race.
Yeah, they've shown they've got the ability to, with their starting pitchers and their bullpen. They're young and they have a lot of big arms with good breaking balls. You know, Frankie Rodriguez has to be able to pull his part at the end of the bullpen. Right. We haven't seen that part of their bullpen yet, and we know that he's got a lot of miles on him, and he's probably lost a little bit off his fastball, but he's got a good curveball and he competes.
Yeah, they have a veteran staff, at least, with Kyle Loesch, who you see there, pitched game 1.
Gallardo.
Giovanni Gallardo. Throw Estrada in with what he's been able to do here tonight. Their other starter is Willie Peralta, who doesn't have all that much experience either. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, in today's game, if you can hang in there long enough, there comes a trading deadline, and if you need to add a couple pieces, it's usually out there to be added. And they did it with CC a couple years back.
CC and Zach Greinke also. Ashe bobbles, and he's not going to. Well, Cody's scuffled a little bit over there at third base defensively. It's not like him. And that'll be an E5. That's the first error of the night for the Phillies.
The ball he's got to come in on him. Just couldn't get the handle on it.
Davis is 2 for 3. He has driven home 2 runs, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 6th. Inside with a breaking ball.
I like this kid in this lineup. He's really like the way he swings a bat, the way he's looked at the plate this series. At times he looks like he's been a little overmatched, but for the most part, it looks like he has a pretty good idea of the strike zone. He showed in his previous at bat he can drive the ball to right center field, and I'm sure he has a little bit of power too.
Time is called. Larry Vanover is going over to talk to Adrian Johnson. Jimmy Rollins mentioned something. I have no idea. I have no idea what they could be talking about. Jimmy went over, talked to Vanover. Vanover said something to Adrian Johnson, who then said something to Garth Orge. And a line drive caught by Ashe. The throw to first is not in time. Ball was smoked. And there's one out. And Mark Reynolds is coming up. I guess that's part of what you were talking about right there. That's a pretty good swing.
Well, he looks like he tries to hit the ball where it's pitched.
Reynolds is 0 for 3 tonight. 2 strikeouts and a ground out. In the dirt, Ruiz blocks it, and it's 1-0. Feel nosy, but I really want to know what Larry Vanover was saying to Adrian Johnson, who then said something to Garth Orge. Breaking ball in for strike one. It's 1-1. Orge had the stopwatch in his hand, and he kind of looked at it when Adrian Johnson said something. I don't think that.
No.
Can't imagine that did anything.
No,
he is going back inside the first base coach's box, or at least in that general area. Another breaking ball for a strike. It's 1-2. That's where he is before Rollins walks up. That's interesting. Maybe that's what it was, because he's going right back into the box now. Look at Jimmy making sure all the rules are adhered to. That box has been there for years, and very rarely do coaches stay in it. In the dirt, 2-2. Ed Cedars is obligated to stay in the box. So Dave Clark in spring training with the Tigers, he all the way down the line. He's nowhere near the box.
He was almost at the circle at the home plate cutout.
He was taking his life in his own hands. Foul ball. That got a piece of Paul Nart, the home plate umpire. Just went woof. Ooh.
I'll tell you what, I've never experienced that, but that cannot feel good. Whether you're catcher, an umpire.
Catcher come out to you after he would get a foul ball like that and say, "I'm woozing." Because usually they'll walk out, or you'll walk down to see how they're doing.
I've never even asked a catcher or Carlos, any catcher that I've had. I've seen a lot of them take that blow off the mask, but I can't imagine. It's got to rattle around, loosen the cobwebs.
Check swing, no peel. No swings is Adrian Johnson. Now 3 balls and 2 strikes. And now the pitch will have to wait. Again, a throw over to first. Brewers will head home after this. They'll take on the Pirates At a 3-game series this weekend out in Milwaukee. All 4, and now runners on first and second. And Ricky Weeks will come to the plate for the 4th time. Just a lot of base runners. I mean, in this 3-game series, just a lot of base runners.
When you get a lot of base runners, it forces you to pitch a little more cautiously, forces you to throw more pitches, and at times the defense has played okay, but at times they've struggled and haven't made the plays, and it's a culmination of a number of things.
17 extra base hits in 3 games. That's an average of over 5 per game. I don't know what the average is for a 3-game series, but 17 just seems like an awful lot. And Ryan Braun has a lot of them. 17 extra base hits and 38 hits in a 3-game series. Yowza. Outside and low, 1-1 to Ricky Weeks.
I hope you're on the upside of that one, not the downside of it.
Well, you hope when a team leaves a series that it ends and you turn the page, you go to another chapter, you go to another book, whatever it is. It's a different setup when the next team comes in. Ground ball towards short. Rollins will get it to second for 1. Utley's turn over to first. Dug out by Howard. And the side is retired. 6-4-3 double play. DeFreitas works out of a jam here in the 8th. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Ben Revere will lead it off for the Phils. Next Thursday, it's the first business person special here at Citizens Bank Park. It's a Citizens Bank Red Goes Green Day. Fans can engage with local green vendors around the ballpark and learn more about the Phillies' Red Goes Green sustainable initiatives. Plus, all fans will receive an MLB Network reusable tote. For more information, visit phillies.com/redgoesgreen. Order your tickets at phillies.com. Last of the 8th inning, the Phillies down 6-2. And the Brewers will turn things over to Will Smith, a guy they acquired from the Kansas City Royals. 5 games so far this year, 1 inning in each game. And he has 6 strikeouts, and he's allowed just the 1 hit. And he'll face the top of the order, Ben Revere, Jimmy Rollins, and Chase Utley. Scooter Gennett takes over at second base for the Brewers. And Gennett will bat in the pitcher's spot. We saw Will Smith earlier in the series. they're pretty happy with this, with the acquisition. They gave Nori Aoki to the Royals for Will Smith. There's a strike to Ben Revere.
Well, he looks like he's a pretty live arm. He's got a low to mid 90s fastball. He's got a slider and a changeup. You can never have enough pitching. You never have enough left-handed pitching, especially out of the bullpen.
2 straight strikes, and it's 0-2. Breaking ball, 1-2. Out of play. Ben Revere is 0 for 3. He has struck out twice. Somewhat of an oddity for him to go down twice in a game. How about 3 times? Luke Roy will throw him out. Oh, it's time now for our Hyundai defensive play of the game. This is Dominic Brown earlier tonight on a real weird hop off the bat of Carlos Gomez, or I should say off the half wall. Watch the spin. Boop.
We got actually a pretty good bounce off of that wall. He was right there waiting for it. Ball kind of came to him and made a really nice throw to second base.
And how about Chase Utley? I mean, the foot just blocking Gomez. Chase does that with his leg or his foot. I mean, he does it better than anybody.
He always just seems to have the knack to do the right thing.
Brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
And he did give the base runner part of the bag, but he didn't give him the corner of the bag.
Right.
Which is normally where they want to go, right? You're always taught to slide to the corner of the bag,
from
the back corner of the bag.
Farthest away from the play.
He took the back corner away and made him either reach around or go between his legs, and he chose to go around.
1-1 to Rollins. Over to third. Easy hop for Ramirez. I like when Chase puts the leg down, but here the foot. Gomez, yeah, reaching.
Doesn't give him the corner of the bag and makes him go past it, which gives Chase just a couple of, not even a second, but it gives him a chance to get in there and make a tag.
Chase is 1 for 3. His average at .444. Outside, 1-0.
And you think back, I think back several years, all the the little things that he does as a player, whether it's base running or in the field, throws, maybe odd throws to play, a ball up the a ball up the middle, and we're thinking you go to man on second base, you go to first, he knows he may not have a chance, he's throwing back to third base, the guy's taking a turn, boom, he's out.
Or even that play in the World Series where he got Bartlett at the plate.
Exactly. That's where I was going with that.
At the knees, 2-1. Well, Roy Halladay tweeted last week that his favorite player, out of all the players that he played with, was Chase Utley. 2-1 pitch. And it's 2-2. Howard's on deck. And a line drive base hit to center. Although the flu hasn't really affected his timing. He's 2 for 4. And Howard does get a chance to bat here in the 8th inning. The Phillies are down 6-2.
constantly, you just see the same swing from Chase, at bat to at bat, regardless of the pitcher, regardless of the situation. He just has a way about him, and he understands what his abilities are, and he just plays the game the right way. You can do nothing. Either dugout that you're in, you can only respect what he does.
So the overshift on Ryan Howard. Scooter Gennett out in shallow right field. Lays off this breaking pitch, and it's 1-2. Well, this has not been the hopeful start to the home schedule the Phillies had envisioned. I guess that's safe to say. 2-2.
Well, it was really nice to see him on the road to get off to a nice start and create some momentum to come home with.
They had life in them. And even with the 2 losses to Texas, which were hard because they had Wednesdays wrapped up and they had a lead, or I should say Thursdays wrapped up and they had a lead in Wednesday's game. Series, though, the starting pitching's been good for the Brewers. Loesch in game 1, Garza game 2, and Marco Estrada here in game 3. And the bullpen's been very good. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Howard. Utley will be off and running. He goes, and there's ball 4. So Howard draws 2 walks tonight. And here comes Marlon Byrd, who's 2 for 3. Nobody's up in the Brewers' pen. Figure, even though this isn't a safe situation, we'll see Francisco Rodriguez in the 9th inning. We haven't seen him this entire series. Marlon pops one here, and it's a make for a pretty entertaining last inning and a third. He's already homered. He's also driven in the 2nd run for the Phillies with a single. And the pitch. In the dirt, 1 ball and no strikes.
That I see with Marlins at bat so far this year, he's not too anxious. Lets the pitcher come to him and tries to hit what how he's being pitched, what they're giving him. You see the whole series, it's a lot of back and forth, hard, soft, hard, soft. And they've been able to execute those pitches, and I think that's the difference.
Now tomorrow, it's not going to be hard, soft with Jose Fernandez. 1-2 pitch to Bird in the dirt, 2-2. In fact, it probably won't be hard, soft on Saturday with Nate Eovaldi. He's throwing in the mid-90s again. Swing and a miss, and the side is retired. Phillies leave a couple more. They've left 6 tonight. A couple strikeouts in this inning for Will Smith. On to the 9th in a 6-2 ball game.
Brewers 6-2, and at the conclusion of this game, the Brewers will head out of town, and the Miami Marlins will head into town with their 5-5 record, guys. And take a look at the pitching matchups for the weekend series. A.J. Burnett will take on last year's Rookie of the Year in the National League, Jose Fernandez, who has been really good so far this year, 2-0 with a ERA of 0.71. And Jonathan Pettibone, as we told you, will pitch on Saturday versus Nathan Eovaldi. And Henderson Alvarez will get the start on Sunday for the Marlins. He'll take on Kyle Kendrick. So the Miami Marlins, guys, coming into town.
Well, the Phillies have to right this ship too, Murph, as
Yes,
we go into this weekend series. You know, it's too early to say something's a must-win here or there, but they've got to start playing some better baseball. They got to start stringing these hits together. And they got 6 games left on this homestand. They were 43-38 last year here at Citizens Bank Park, and even that was a little light for what they've done in years past.
Ryan Sandberg talked about the importance of winning in your home ballpark, and you know, when the Phils were winning divisions, they were dominating the NL East, and you know, it hasn't happened over the last couple of years. They need to get back to that.
Jeanette sends this one to left center field. Dominic Brown makes a diving grab. One away.
Dominic gets a great jump on this ball. He's tracking it the whole way. I think he thought it was a little further away from him at first than it ended up.
Well, it looked good. Well, he got there and was able to put it away for the first out. And now at the top of the order, Carlos Gomez. Oh, man. He's still hacking.
He plays every at bat like it's his last. Every fly ball like it's his last. Love to see it. A lot of energy.
Whoop. They say you're supposed to swing nice and easy, don't they?
Yeah.
Over to third. As she's got it. I think I heard him talking to himself like you said he does. Every time the Phillies retire the opposing team 1-2-3, Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Well, since 2009, Phillies have been very good here at home. Now 2012, not so good, 40-41, above 500 last year. But when they win in divisions, I mean, they were dominating this yard. Over to the left side, Jimmy Rollins gobbles it up. Just in time for the final out. Boy, that was really close. Side is retired in order, so now it's time for the bottom of the ninth inning here at Citizens Bank Park. One last chance for the Phillies to avoid the sweep against the Brewers. We'll see what they have in store for Francisco Rodriguez when we get back. Let's take a look at our W.B. Mason deliveries of the game. They've had a lot of deliveries in this series. In the fourth inning, here's Chris Davis. He rolls this one through the drawn-in infield. And that brings home Ramos Ramirez from third. And then in the sixth inning, it's Davis again. And he roped that one, Jamie, to right center field.
Yes, he did. Showed something he really hadn't shown the whole series, at hitting the ball the other way with a little bit of authority.
Those are our W. Mason deliveries of the game. 11 hits in this game for the Brewers, so double digits in all three. And Francisco Rodriguez. Rodriguez, 3 games so far, 6 strikeouts in 3 innings of work. Revere has been diving all over the place. He's holding his ribs as he is sitting in the dugout.
Well, he's sitting beside the medic. He can probably help him.
Here's Dominic Brown to lead it off. He's 0 for 3. There you go. Yes, he did. It's 0-1. Dominic has grounded out twice. He's also flied out to center. In the dirt, and 1 ball and 1 strike. Rodriguez began his major league career with the Anaheim Angels. He was a great closer, signed a big contract with the Mets. You know, and he closed games obviously for the Mets, but it didn't turn out to be as successful, or his time there wasn't as successful as it was in Anaheim.
He still competes. And to me, that's, even if your stuff has dropped off a little bit, you got to still compete.
Fly ball down the left field line, and it's out of play. Well, when he pitched for the Angels, he was more of a fastball changeup. The changeup is still his out pitch, but it was the fastball, and the separation was huge.
Yeah, it was huge, and he now uses a breaking ball, curveball as well. And I think the lefties sometimes will see the curveball a little bit more, and the righties it might be a little more of a slurve. But you're right, it was the fastball changeup combination, and with his motion, I think it's a little deceptive too. It looks, there's a lot of elbows and legs coming at you, and sometimes a little tough picking up the ball.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Brown. In the dirt, 2-2. The thought was that Jim Henderson was going to be the closer for the Brewers, but Francisco Rodriguez has that role now. They wanted to get Henderson back into the rhythm of being able to throw 95-96. Well, Ron Renick's watched him throw 95-96 in this series. And now the 2-2 pitch. Off the end of the bat, shallow right field. Braun will give way to Jeanette, and there's one out. Following the ball game, stay tuned for Ben Davis's analysis of tonight's series finale against the Brewers, only on Pure Auto Insurance presents Phillies Post-Game Live. Carlos Ruiz is 1 for 3. He's popped out to first. He's singled and he's struck out. The first pitch coming to Carlos. Breaking ball. Separation of about 18 miles an hour between the curveball and his fastball, which was at 91 a moment ago.
Good changeup right there. Carlos has seen a lot of breaking balls, a lot of changeups tonight.
Swing and a miss, and Carlos is struck out for the second time. So 2 outs here in the 9th inning. Well, reminder, we'll be on the air tomorrow at 7 o'clock on the Comcast Network. The Phillies pregame live begins at 6:30. A.J. Burnett is going to be in charge of trying to stop this streak. Phillies have lost 3 straight, and they're 1 out away from being swept in this series, and it would be their 4th consecutive loss. Cody Ashe is 0 for 3. Fastball low, 1-0. Fisted down the left field line, and it lands into foul territory, and it's 1-2. Swing and a miss. He got him, and the ball game is over. And the Brewers have swept out the Phillies in this 3-game series in somewhat dominating fashion. And the Phillies now have lost 4 consecutive games. Meanwhile, the Brewers finished this road trip at 6-0 as they win it tonight 6-2. Our Chevy players of the game, the Brewers offense in this series: 38 hits, 25 runs, and 17 extra base hits. Now, the Phillies didn't score a whole lot of runs for Cliff Lee, just 2 on 6 base hits. He suffers the loss. He's now 2-1. And now the Phillies have to brush themselves off and hope for a change against the Miami Marlins. They lose at 6-2. We'll be back to wrap it up from Citizens Bank Park right after this.